What is happening, people? Scarface Belzuk here, back with one of these weekly podcasts every Monday night live on YouTube and available across all platforms as well. Today, I'm joined by a fantastic large panel. Firstly, Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Harry. Thanks for having me on. I'm enjoying myself here in hot and humid Eastern North Carolina. We're pushing about 38 today, have been for days. So it's the weather in the United States is quite hot right now.
Wow, no complaining for any of us here. Then that is absolutely another level. So thank you very much for giving your time this evening, Chris. Long time no see. How you doing?
Long time no see, indeed. Nice to see Justin again, and Jack and Phillip. Nice to meet you, everyone. Hi to everyone in the chat and everyone watching. Lovely to be back, and been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Let's do this.
Yes, absolutely love it. Let's do this. Thank you very much, Phillip. Welcome back. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Yeah, good. Been enjoying the Euros over here in Frankfurt in Germany. So managed to survive the influx of thousands and thousands of many nationalities. Obviously, lots of English and Scots here as well. So yeah, it's been a fun time so far. And summer's just arrived. So it's about 32 degrees here today as well. So yeah, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Nice, yeah. The weather we all want in a way, but when it gets here, all like, oh, it's too hot. But enjoy it while it lasts. Well, especially if you're in England like myself, because you know that it probably won't be here the next time we're going to be having this conversation. But before we crack into it, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash the subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it helps the channel grow. If you're listening on podcast platform, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. That'd be massively appreciated. That's Scarface Verso on Spotify, Amazon Music, or Apple Music. So thank you very much. A good, exciting summer ahead for the channel. Jack, I want to start with you because the fixtures were announced last week. And Leicester away, for example, is our first home game. It's followed by Everton at home, Newcastle away, which completes August. Then we get Arsenal after the international break. Are you happy with the start, or have you been slightly hard done by? Would you say?
You have to play everyone twice, and the order of fixtures are what they are. I'm not too worried about this start. It could. When you look through the whole season, you don't have a run like we did this past spring, where we played 5 or 6 of the top teams in about 7 weeks. I think the schedule's reasonably balanced. Opening up at Leicester's not terrible. Home to Everton, go away to Newcastle, home to Arsenal. I mean, that's not easy, but I mean, tell me a game that's easy in the Premier League for Spurs, and I'll sign up.
Yeah, that is very, very true. We want to be there if there is, but there's not. Maybe Sheffield United last season, but even that, we huffed and puffed at home. So I don't think there is any easy games. So thank you very much, Jack. Chris, I want to come to you. What are your thoughts on our start? We've obviously Leicester away being the first game in particular. Any thoughts in general?
It's not a bad away fixture, really, is it? They've got a nice stadium, nice. They just come up from the Championship. But what worries me most, and I think it's going to be, it's going to affect like most teams, is this hectic summer with the Euros, with the Copa America, and with the Olympics, because it's a jam-packed summer. And however, our teams, especially Spurs, of course, but all teams in the Prem are affected by these 3 tournaments. I think it's going to be a slow start. Especially, for those, as I said before, the teams that have got more players spread over those competitions. So I don't expect us to be flying out of the blocks, but to gradually pick up momentum as the season goes along. I don't expect that those 8+2, 8 victories and 2 draws that we had last season. And I hope people don't jump at Ange's neck and ask for him to be sacked after like 3 games. But I do see that it's going to be a slow start and pick up momentum gradually. So I'm really not too bothered about the initial 5, 7, 8 games, for example, of the upcoming fixtures to start off with. It's how you end, it's not how you start, in my opinion. Because last season was the other way around. We started great and we ended up not so great. So, that's my take.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think as much as our start was lovely last season, it got people on board with Ange, because what people forget now is that when Ange joined, it was quite a toxic place before that. So that was perfect for us fans in terms of getting us back on side. That's exactly what we needed. However, I'd much rather had an awful start, turned it around, and sit here talking about 6 wins, from our last 7 games rather than whatever it was, 4 defeats out of 6. So I do share that with you. But thank you very much, Chris. Justin, what were your thoughts on those first few fixtures there, in particular the first one, Leicester away? Are you happy? Is it one of those, like the guys say, that you can't really complain, got to get on with it? It isn't that bad. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I think to be fair, in a way, I agree. I can't remember who said it, where you play everybody twice. It doesn't really matter. You've got to play everybody in there. So, but I think particularly with our fan base, it possibly does, because if we'd have had games like we had at the end of the season at the beginning, and we'd have been on a bit of a poor start to the season, it'd be Ange out, get these players out. It becomes quite toxic quite quickly. So, when you look at it, we should at least be looking to get 6 points from the first 2 games. Newcastle away, we seem to have been shocking out for forever. So Lord knows what will happen with regards to that. But then you look at obviously the North London derby and then Brentford. So, we should be in a fairly sort of decent position come when we get, towards the end of September. But I think the key part really has got to be, more than anything else, just get this business done, get these deals through. We don't want to be getting to, Newcastle away, and obviously we've signed players, but they can't play because we signed them on deadline day. So you really don't, you want them in. And I think that's one thing that Ange has sort of said, is that he wants his players in early. So if we're trying to really, embellish on what we're trying to achieve, then, we've got a good opportunity, but we've got to get these players in early. It's not the best, it's not the worst of fixtures, but the worry always is with Spurs, if you have a slow start, fans will turn on them very, very quickly.
That is a worrying thing, and we've got to not do that, because I don't think that's healthy for anyone at the club. Get on side. Whether you think Ange's the right manager to win at Tottenham or get us to the next level, nobody really knows. We can sit here and go, yes, no, maybe. We don't really know, really. He's done it in Scotland, done it in Japan. Can he do it in England? Nobody really knows. I like what I've seen in the first season, but I completely agree. Pack him while he's here and at least give him that chance in his second season. We know how big the second season is for a lot of managers, both negatively and positively. Look at Ten Hag, for example. You could look at that either way. In fact, that they won a trophy, but we're awful in the league. So completely agree with you on that, Justin. Phillip, before we kind of do move on to more the end of the season fixtures that we've got, what do you make of having a newly promoted team in the first game? Is that like a nightmare in terms of they have that bounce in front of their home fans as well? Or are you just thinking, it could have been Man City, Arsenal, it is what it is, let's go and win the game?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think it's not going to be an easy game. I mean, also, Leicester have got a new manager. I thought it was going to be Potter, but I think Cooper's confirmed now, right? So, I think Cooper's a very good manager. I think he's obviously going to want to get off to a flyer. And don't forget, we've got a bit of a reunion with Wingsy. And I think he kind of wanted that, didn't he? Or he predicted. He said, I'd love to have Spurs in the first game. So he got his wish. It's not going to be an easy game. I mean, I can see Leicester, recruiting cleverly as well until then, like they kind of actually seem to have always done as well, up to a certain extent. So look, I mean, we want to start the season well. It's tough, right? I mean, yeah, like it's a long summer. We've got people at the Euros, less so for England, obviously, this year, but for other teams, Copa America, I'm sure we've got a few players there without actually having kind of been that interested in it, to be honest, so far. So not really too aware of it in terms of what the details are, but I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to probably be a hot day, right? Kind of in August. I think it's going to be a slow game. So I just hope we get the pace up. I hope Ange, gets them playing fast from the get-go. And look, I mean, you want a result from that game, right? You know, if we'd played City or United or Arsenal, one of those other kind of teams, like, then, you know, would have probably been tougher, right? But, you know, it's quite a glamorous start to the season. I mean, it is what it is, right? You know, we probably, if we'd have got like I don't know who at home, right, one of the smaller teams at home, you know, Bournemouth or you know, a team like that at home, then we probably wouldn't win anyways, right? You know, it'd probably be like a friendly game. I could just imagine it, right? We'd have like an easy like game on paper again, right? You kick off the
It's true.
season, play with pace, and everyone goes in the sun, and it's kind of slow pace, and it's like boring. And actually, to be honest, I'm quite happy we're away from home. You know, the away fans will be there; they'll be giving it. And you know, one other point is I'm quite glad to actually face, you know, them lot down the road quite early in the season. Actually, I'm just happy to kind of get it out the way, to be honest. I've got a good feeling. I think we're going to start the season strong. I don't think we're going to go on a run like last season, probably, but you know, we'll start quite well, I think, and positive. And you know, I'd almost rather take them on right away. I think Arsenal will probably take a bit of time to get into their stride again. So yeah, but again, it is how it is, right? I mean, whoever you get in your first, you know, run of fixtures in the league, there's gonna be some tough ones in there. And I think, as some of the other guys already said, you know, let's hope to get the outgoing sorted, and then of course the incoming started. And yeah, maybe we'll see some of that youth on the bench as well. So let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. Let's hope so. That leads us on perfectly to a bit later about the youth and whether they should be trusted. Jack, I'll come back to you because we end the season actually with a home game for the first time in 6 years. That curse is finally broken, if you like. You know, Brighton at home. Is that, how much do you kind of see that? Because some fans go, you know, that's an absolutely massive thing to end the season in front of your fans, and some people go, I couldn't really care less either way. Where do you kind of sit with the importance of ending in front of your home fans?
I mean, I think it's nice to be able to do that in the right circumstances, particularly if there's something important on the line. But I don't think if you're not fighting for something in particular, I don't know that it's all that critical whether you're you know, the walk of the players around the pitch and greeting all the fans is done the second to last. I know it is nice to not have I don't think Brighton will be in a relegation scrap, so we won't actually finish away at a relegation or a relegated side for the first time in a couple of years. So I think, you know, we don't know what we're going to get with them. Obviously, with the new manager coming in, you know, you expect they'll be the same type of Brighton team with quality recruiting, young players you hadn't heard of that all of a sudden start going for 30, 60, 90 million bucks, you know, in a couple of years. But yeah, I think that's not a bad fixture. Brighton's not an intimidating place to play. We've had a lot of success there over the years. This past season, not included in that, of course. So I think that's a fine. I mean, the last three, you know, you're home to Crystal Palace, you're away to Aston Villa, which could be a huge game, and then you don't know where Brighton's going to be. Are they gonna continue to fall back towards the bottom third of the table, or they're gonna get a new manager in that brings them back towards European places? You just don't know this far out. So on balance, I think the schedule, big games are spread out pretty well. We don't have that murderer's row that we had this past spring, so I'm pretty pleased with the whole fixture list.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. Chris, I'll come back to you. What do you make of ending the season in front of our home fans? Obviously, it has been 6 years. I was there. I think it might have been Leicester at home, something like that. You know, that's gone really quickly, I think. You know, so is it good to see us ending in front of our home fans against Brighton, as well as, you know, Jack says they shouldn't be a relegated team or fighting for survival. You don't know how things are going to go, but it doesn't look that way anyway.
Yeah, I mean, with so much, you know, to play for, and that season hasn't even started yet, it's a bit difficult to know. And as Jack said, rightly so, we could be fighting for everything. We could be fighting for absolutely nothing. The season could be over by, you know, 4 games before, or we could still be in a scrap until the last day. We really don't know. But looking at the dates, you've got the FA Cup final on the 17th of May. We could win that, right, if we're there. I'm just saying, hypothetically. We could win that, go away to Villa as champs, right? Come back, and that's something. So that would be more or less. That might have to change because that would be the day after. So we wouldn't go to Villa, right? Then we'd possibly be looking at the Europa League final. so we could win that on the 21st of May. So that'd be double cup winners, right? And then, yeah, but this is great. This is great, and it's great for TV as well, right? And it's great for dreaming. Right, and because I've got the dates in front of me, because I did the spreadsheet and I did it on my channel as well. And you've got the 25th, you're playing at home to Brighton, right? And you could be FA Cup winner, Europa League Cup winner, and you're playing at home to Brighton. We couldn't care less what Brighton are doing because we've got 2 cups under our belt. Do you know what I mean? And we could be fighting for, a league position, which is pretty high up, or fighting for Europa League, or whatever that, whatever that translates to, if it's Champions League directly or whatever it means. But you know what? That scenario is pretty cool. Whether it happens or whether it, translates into anything or not, we don't know. But those dates are pretty cool. They sound funky to me. Now, of course, coming back to reality, right? I'm sorry to burst everybody's bubble, but I got a bit carried away. But yeah, playing at home is always nice to see off the season instead of last year, Sheffield United and the season before, wherever that was, and blah blah blah. And I suppose it could either be, doom or gloom. I mean, it really could. It could be, heads or tails. It's a bit far off, but playing at home is always nice, and we don't have to travel far if we're the home team. So, you either celebrate in the family or you just go down the pub because it's just down the road. It really doesn't matter either way. It all depends on how the season's planned out, and that basically sums up my take on it all. But
thank you very much, Chris. It's certainly really interesting. If only it was that easy, though. If only we could just get, rock up at the final, have 2 trophies when we play Brighton at home. That'd be excellent.
Well, we can only dream. Yeah, dreaming's free.
No, that's good. No, exactly. It's better to be positive. It's better to sit here and grumble and go everything's going to fall apart. So I like it in a way, but in the back of your mind, have that it's probably not going to happen. We don't want the disappointment. We've seen enough of that.
I'm going to have to erase this spreadsheet after we do this live stream, probably, so to not visit it ever again. But no problem.
The unfinished spreadsheet. Thank you very much, Chris.
Welcome.
So I want to move on to the main subject of tonight, and that is, whether you should be trusted more next season. But before we get into next season, Justin, I want to start with you, actually. If you were Ange Postecoglou, obviously it's easy to say now in our position and after the season, would you have given the youth more of a chance last season? You look at Sheffield United, there's times where I think the game was done, early in the second half, and the changes don't come till later. Should they have got more of a chance? The likes of Mikey Moore, who look really, really talented and ultimately winning trophies in the youth academy.
I think you could go back even further than that. I think you could look at the time when we saw the likes of, was it Van der Ven got his injury? We knew clearly that Eric Dyer was not going to be an option long term. It had been made clear to him, and I think only the penny dropped once he realised we'd signed Dragoshin. To me, the thing that frustrates me, and I get what people say, the idea of the risk of throwing them in and what have you, but my comparison to that is other football clubs, the other clubs in the Premier League. When you look at, when they turn around and they say, oh, they're not good enough. Well, Kobbie Mainoo was 18 and he's now at the Euros, and we're talking about, should he be starting for England? That is how good someone like him is. Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton, is there as well. I don't really understand why it is, particularly with Tottenham, that we seem to have this struggle when it comes to young players. We seem, and particularly when you look at where we're at, the fact that, okay, albeit a technicality, they stayed in the Premier League under 21s, I think, is it called now, or Premier League 2, whatever that they call it. But the fact of it being is they went on and won it. They finished top and they won the playoff final. Okay, they lost in the final of the cup. But the fact of it being is that, you look at what other clubs are doing, and, whether it be we're bringing these players in or whether we're doing it to actually generate income from them, I don't get why we can't be doing that. As I say, Chelsea, as much as we can criticise them for, finding 400 loopholes to PSR and all of these kind of different things. You look at Man City. Man City gave Cole Palmer 2-3 games and he sold for 40 million quid. And now he should be playing for England instead of Saka. So I get what people say, but it seems like Tottenham lives in a completely different world to every other team in the Premier League, where there seems to be this. It's almost like, whether it comes from the top, whether it's the managers, we've seen it year after year where managers are almost scared to try the younger players. We've amount of times I've heard, well, we like Ben Davies. He does a job. Okay, but we don't know what the youngsters can do. We've been lauding about Jamie Donnelly, yet he gets about 2-3 minutes a game. We saw last year with Matthew Craig and I can't remember who the other one was who got about 2-3 minutes. To me, I get the argument of that. Okay, younger players need time to gel and they need time to build confidence, and chucking them straight in can be damaging for their career. But on the other side of it is, why is it that it seems to be that we do it differently to everybody else? Whether it be we're not using it as a platform to sell these players on, whether they go on loan or things like that, or whether we are integrating them, because the club seem to struggle to spend money, yet it doesn't want to use its youth system, which to me, when you look at how many, I struggle to think of how many young players have come through our academy and gone on to be big stars. Yeah, exactly. So that to me is when you really sort of look at it and you feel that there must be something we're not doing right. Whether we're not loaning them out properly or we're not conditioning them properly or anything like that. There's got to be something. But what I do hope is, if they're not coming through our team, that they are getting these loans. I think we're hearing about Will Lancashire getting a loan, and we're talking about maybe Jamie Donnelly getting a loan. This is what needs to happen. But a big chunk of that core of under 21 that won that tournament technically have reached their peak in terms of under 21 level. Okay, they've won it. There's nothing further for them. That's their level now. So surely the next step for a big chunk of those players is either decide that they're good enough, you're going to integrate them into the first team like they're doing Mikey Moore. And I understand that he probably shouldn't have as many more minutes because he is 16. So I think that one maybe needs a bit more. But the likes of Lancashire, the likes of Tyrese Hall, Santiago, players like that, okay, let's get you that Premier League experience, or let's get you that European experience. The amount of players that have gone to Germany, Italy, France, Spain, and have actually flourished. That's what we need to be doing, because if they're not good enough for us, we need to finally realise that's a channel that we could be making a lot of money out of. And particularly with the owner that we have, I'm very surprised we don't.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Justin. And I look at players like Parrott and Scarlett, and we will get onto later what you do with them, where you keep them, sell them, give them a chance. But I look at them and go, they're not given a chance unless the whole team's changed and they haven't played with each other and it doesn't flow. You look at Fulham round 2. There's 7, 8, 9 changes, and people go, "Oh, this player's rubbish." So I'm like, what should happen is you're like Sheffield United. You have the first team, you had one player in Mikey Moore. Then the next game, you have that team, you had Jamie Donnelly. You adapt them. But when we give the youth a chance, which is very rare at Tottenham at the moment, is we make 6, 7, 8, 9, sometimes more changes in the team, and nobody looks right in their position. Nobody knows their position, and that's where the results often not been good. I look at Morecambe, we go right back under Antonio Conte, where 6 changes were made. And I really wanted to see the likes of Dane Scarlett, but we never got the chance, really, because there were so many changes. It just didn't sit right, and the changes were made. He was off, Kane was on. We didn't really get to see it. It should have been a full team with Scarlett. So I do completely agree with you. Philip, where do you stand on the fact that you could have had more minutes next season? It's easy to say now, isn't it? If you're Ange, would you give them a few more minutes? Because it felt like a free hit last season with no Europe as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to look back and say he should have done this. I was frustrated in some of those games because I thought that the likes of Donnelly, certainly should have got like 20 minutes, maybe even half an hour. He's big enough. He's got the skills. He's proven it in the under 21s. And then he brings on Jill, Brian instead, right? And I mean, he just proves that every time he comes on, he can't do it, right? I mean, he's almost like a parody of a player, really. it's not his fault, to be honest, as well. I think he's, I don't think his career's really gone in the way that he would have liked. And no doubt he'll go back to Spain, just an example, and end up playing for Spain again, right, in a couple of years. But maybe that's just the Premier League. Maybe it just doesn't work out for him. But yeah, I think, I don't really hold it against Ange too much because he was getting to know the team, and probably, even like players like Kulu, you could see that there was those games where he wasn't sure whether he should start him on the right or then put him in the middle. And then, Lo Celso kind of was fit again and came in. And then, on the left, did he play Son there or did he try something else? And yeah, I would have liked him to have just given certainly Donnelly and especially Donnelly, to be honest, a bit more time. I can't really say that he should really have given Mikey more because I think as Justin said, he's 16, right? And he's pretty slight, right? He's small. He's got time. He can play next season. That's not a problem. But someone like Donnelly or maybe even Hall, when he's played, they look like they're ready, in my opinion, and they're robust enough to play games. And I would certainly hope that this next season he does that. I personally, I wouldn't want to loan out Donnelly next season because I think he's good enough. I honestly think he's good enough to sit on the bench and come on and give 20 minutes here and there, right? There's that other player for Villa, I think. I don't know if Chelsea have just bought him. Can't remember his name now, but he's a young player. It's like a bit of a potentially dodgy kind of thing going on, I think, with the...
Are you trying to indicate that as of last year, he was worth £850,000, has played over an hour's football, and is now worth £19 million? And you're trying to insinuate that's dodgy?
It's obviously... It's massively under the microscope, right? But I think Donnelly is starting ahead of that guy, right? For England, right? Essentially, and of course he's not worth 19 million, but he must be a good player, right? He must be a very good player, especially if he's moving to Chelsea, whatever. Still, right? And Donnelly, what's he worth then? What is Donnelly? What would Donnelly be worth on the market? Because he'd be the kind of player that would start somewhere. If he gets given a run of games, I reckon, and he'd start performing at that level, and he needs that. So look, long story short, I think Ange, for this last season, I don't hold it against them. I don't think there was much more he could have done, apart from maybe in some of those games at the end, in the final quarter of the season, 20 minutes here and there, a bit more. But I wouldn't hold it against them. And yeah, going back to, I think, Eric, on the first point, Chris, sorry, we had the... We've had a problem anyways, right, of bringing through youth. I mean, that's another topic. We have had that problem. I think Winksy is the last one maybe who's kind of come through. Maybe I'm missing someone out, but I don't think anyone else has really kind of come through to play in the first team regularly. And to be fair,
Skip got a lot of minutes.
Yeah,
obviously.
Skippy. Yeah, to be fair, Skip as well, but. An elite, and Skip has got his chances, to be fair, hasn't he? He's had his chances, but sadly, let's be honest, he's not going to make it, is he? He's not going to make it, and he's not at the required level. He can still be a Premier League player, maybe, or top Championship, but he's not level for us. But at least he's played. But again, my last point on it is I think that the club have made positive changes. Like the under-21s are actually playing better Ange ball than Ange, right? And the first team in terms of how they're playing, but I don't think they were playing like that 18 months ago. So they have implemented this kind of new way of playing, and they're doing it very well. And that should bode well for now if they do decide to promote some of those players into the team, that they would at least understand how to move the ball and kind of work with the tactics. So to be fair to the club, I think they've made quite some new hires. And they do seem to be improving that academy side of things. So the proof's in the pudding, I guess, in a couple of years, right? And I guess with these players that we've got now, which ones out of that team generally do we think, at the moment have got what it takes, to kind of step up? And again, I would say that Hall, by the way, he looks very, very good to me. And to be honest, I mean, if I've seen a lot of Hall, and he's quite big as well. Like, if you compare how he plays to how Mainu plays, Like, I mean, you know, as someone else said, Mainu's starting games for England, and I think they're the same age, aren't they? I think they're both 18, possibly. So, you know, it just shows that if you get that chance and you get a run of games like Wharton has as well, who I was very disappointed that we didn't buy in the end because we were linked a lot with him, anything can happen. So next season, I think there will be more. But again, it depends who we decide to keep and who we decide to loan out.
Yeah, no, exactly. It does really depend. Before we focus on next season with the youth, Jack, I want to ask you a question, and it's from a comment that Callum Stubbs from Partner Podcast put in the YouTube chat. He says to people who can't see it, problem with the whole youth has been stagnation under Jose Mourinho, Nuno, and Conte, where the pathway wasn't clear. I personally agree. I think that with all those managers in charge, the youth academy was forgotten. It feels like a backlog. Everything's been behind and been trying to catch up. And I think that is a major problem. Wherever, you know, those managers, in particular, Mourinho and Conte have gone, they've won. If you look at anywhere they've gone, it's not exactly been a young team. But Mourinho just gives these chances to youngsters like with Tanganga, with Spurs. But generally, his youth aren't given a chance. So what do you make of this, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I think to be fair to Jose, he actually did give them shots. I mean, he gave Parrott a shot and maybe just to show everyone that he wasn't ready. He gave some opportunities, but we're definitely shifting from a developmental project to a win now mentality. Certainly, obviously, over the previous two managers, and it's pretty legendary how poorly that the academy felt they were treated by Conte. I mean, there's no question. I mean, Donnelly's father was quite vocal about that online, about, you know, getting used as cones for practice for the senior team. I mean, I think the comments about Spurs, given this is not a show on the referendum of the ownership, but I mean, I think the comment about we should be better at this for a club like us is spot on. We build infrastructure, but realistically, over the last 5 years, I don't know how many young players we should have given opportunities to. This club also has a lot of trouble with selling players. They have a lot of trouble finding good loans. We've seen a lot of players go out on loan, and it's struggle and struggle and struggle. Parrott finally found a place, obviously, over on the continent, but you can question whether or not that's a high enough level of competition to be qualifying him to be fighting for a shot in the first team. I mean, we have struggle in this area. We should be developing better talent. We should be loaning them out or selling for profit in the way Chelsea has done. I think that's a good model. But the one thing I'll say is, as far as the current crop of players, they all look promising. I watched more Premier League 2 this past season than I ever have before, just because, you know, I mistakenly forgot to cancel my Spurs Play subscription, and therefore I was like, well, okay, I've got it, I might as well watch the games, right? And they do look fantastic. Those players look really, really good. But I caution myself, because I know I'm not an evaluator of talent. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on a fan YouTube show. I'd be somewhere else doing something else for a living. Because I look back at the team that won the U20 World Cup for England, and I think it was 2017. Not a single one of those players is on the squad at the Euros. Not one. It's so that the distance between youth football and particularly the Premier League is enormous. And I'm going to have to sit back and say, you know, I trust Ange because he's clearly shown he's not afraid of playing young players. We've got this past season, we have 5 U21s on the team. You had Dragusin, who came in late, Sarr, Phillips, Feliz, Udogie. And obviously in Sarr and Udogie, they were trusted with massive minutes around other young players like Van de Ven, who came straight in. Poro given, he's obviously a little bit older, but Decky's still in his early 20s. I mean, we're giving younger players. We're just not bringing people through the academy. And that's what I think is important for a club like ours who wants to be self-sustaining. They're going to have to figure out how to get these guys either their loans, or as people say all the time, if you're good enough, you're old enough. You know, I mean, there's no Wayne Rooney in our current setup of our academy who can come on at 15, 16 and score on his debut. But I think that we do have players. I expect to see Lucas Berval get a chance. He joins the club on July 1st, you know, and I think he's got a real opportunity. There's plenty of players I think, you know, we should be looking at giving some opportunities. But I'm going to have to trust Ange and his talent evaluation of these kids in the summer preseason on tour to figure out which one of these you want to keep, which ones you want to sell, and which ones you want to loan out. But that's been the problem. We haven't we haven't sold well, we haven't loaned out well, and we haven't promoted them into the first team. I mean, again, Skip, Winks, and Harry Kane are your most successful ones. I mean, it's not great.
No, apart from that, we've done all right. Yes, there's a lot of things we have done all right in. So thank you very much for that, Jack. And welcome you onto the podcast by request. Callum, how you doing, Callum?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. I don't want to intrude, boys. I was on a rant there. I was on a rant, so I am sorry.
No, you're fine. For people who don't know, Callum has a lot of insight, but a lot of knowledge when it comes to the Youth Academy. So it should be good. Also, good bumping into you earlier, Callum.
Yeah, sorry I nearly ran you over, H. Didn't mean to.
Oh, we'll let that go. No, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Actually, Callum, I will come to you. And my next question is, does the youth deserve more of a chance next season for you? Because you are in Europe. When is the right opportunity? Majority of us fans go, give them a chance, give them a chance, give them a chance. But when?
If you're playing a team that matches the same name as a pizza box, then you've definitely got a chance to give them the opportunity. I think that's the best way of putting it. With Europe, you've obviously got to field 4 homegrown talents through club trained as well. So at the moment, realistically, you've got Skip, Whiteman and Austin. So it's not good when you've got 2 goalkeepers for that. So if you are going to do it, then potentially they can make up the ground for it, but they do register anyway for the under 21 B list. So if you do put them in there to make up them numbers, you're giving up spots for first team players as well. But it shows the lack of progression when you do go forward, that when you do finally get Europa League or Europa Conference League, that we're so devoid of it. And realistically, if you can use them in the early 8 games, then that does give you an opportunity for it. But when you think of how many homegrown actual players that we've let go this summer alone in Sessegnon, Tanganga, Spence will probably go as well. It's definitely devoid of it. And it's about the step up from PL2 to Premier League to also then to Europe as well. Because I remember under Nuno, we was trying Scarlet playing against, I think, Vitesse in the Checker trade. And he was so isolated. He was only 17, 18. He didn't look comfortable doing it. Parrott has played for us in Europe as well. So it's about assessing what players are ready and what players aren't. And if I'm quite honest, from what I've heard from different club sources, from going to the games as well, there are a few that I think could be close to that step up, but it's not enough. There's not enough. When you think we had all them times ago under Poch, having different people, having Townsend, Carroll, Mason, Bentaleb, Walker, Rose, it's a long way from where it is now. And when you think the last player to actually break through in the first team was actually Tanganga under Mourinho, Skip was already there and thereabouts. And when it's with them now, I reckon Donnelly's got to go out on loan. He's not ready to step up. The closest you've probably got to it is Tyrese Hall or maybe Mikey Moore, because Poch has, well, Ange, not Poch, Ange has taken a fancy to them, but that's only a little bit. There's not enough out there. Maybe some of utility players like Rio Kyramates and George Abbott, people like that could be used as utility backup players, but some of them are League One level, Championship level. I wouldn't even say Scarlett is ready to be a lone man striker. That's the problem.
I completely agree with you, Callum. The issue is because we're not, well, I think we're producing, to be honest with you, I think we're producing the youth. We aren't utilising them in the right way and giving them the right opportunities. And, a lot of us has touched on, the loans. They haven't gone out on loan at the right time. I can't express, and I don't know that much about it, but I know that loans is very, very important in helping a player develop throughout their career. I really want to get into sports coaching. I studied a little bit. Loan is very, very crucial for people's development. We just haven't done that. And you get the likes of Phillips, Devine, he went out on loan, really impressive player of Argyle. But then we're linked to signing a 4th centre back. And I'm thinking, behind that, then comes Phillips, then comes so-and-so. They're 5th, 6th on the list. Why would you want to stay at Tottenham? And Callum, because we're not doing that, we're signing the likes of Jack Clark, where we're paying a lot for, doesn't work, and then selling them for pretty much close to nothing. we make a loss, we get nothing out of the player. It's so frustrating. I think I just
No,
think
I
we're at
do,
crossroads.
I do agree with you, mate. Because I mean, some of our biggest youth players in the last couple of years have left to go elsewhere. Dennis Sirkin left us for a minimal fee in £1 million, and yeah, we've got a 6 million buyback option, but he went. Jack Clark, a very unproven raw player, came through, left. Nathan Adua. There was a guy that went to, I think it was Standard Liège as well last year. He left for a nominal fee, 250
But what
grand.
happened with Dylan Makunde to Blackburn?
He's actually done very well for them, to be
But
fair.
why did we let him go?
Wasn't it his contract? He didn't want to sign a new one, I think.
Right.
He didn't want to take up, I think it was scholarship terms. He was coming to where he would have signed his first professional deal with us, and he left on before coming to that. So that's where we got a compensation fee with it. But it's the same with other people. Rio Griffiths a couple of years ago was lighting all the youth leagues up, top scorer. He left thinking that he could get more money going to Lyon. He's now playing in the North Essex League. I saw him at an exit trial about 6 months ago playing for Raith Rovers or something like that. So the steps to take going forward are big. But you are correct, H. Why do all these players want to leave? And when you do look at it, the people that are leaving are some of our best players. They are the people that, if Spurs had any common sense, you either give them the progress into the first team, or you do what all the other teams do and sell. Oh, jeez.
Yes, right. I'll let you sort that out. We'll come back to you. Right. I don't know why I can hear myself twice. Right, it's gone now. Right, we'll move on. Short technical issue. We wouldn't have Callum on the show if it wasn't for a technical issue. I can vouch from that. Hosted with him at Part of Podcast, even though that there's a technical issue always. So there we go. Can anyone else hear myself twice?
Yeah.
I don't know why. What about now? No.
It's better now.
It's not an issue now.
Better.
It's an issue with Jack's connection as well. So we leave them both on standby for now. We will continue. Of course, it wouldn't be a show without a technical issue. We're still in 2024. We've got these ideas of flying cars, but you can't get your basic StreamYard to work when you press the go button. But we won't, worry about that. Chris, I'm conscious you haven't spoken for a while. Where do you stand on the kind of youth scandal, if you like, and when do you give them a chance next season? Because I'm someone for give the youth a chance. I'm going to be honest with you, I struggle to say when. There isn't many opportunities. I mean, Callum talks about when you pay your smaller teams in Europe, but with the Europa, there's not going to be that many with the league that we're kind of in. So where do you kind of stand with that?
Yeah, listen, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act, and I'm glad Callum's back because he's got more insight than I have. But from what I've learned regarding youth and the step up to like elite level, it's a big jump, and only like the prepared, the ones that are actually capable of, I don't know, sustaining like training loads, I don't know, competition demands. Their head that where they might psychologically, if they are willing to adapt, if they are, willing is one thing, but if they are able to adapt to the medium, to other professional players, it's not just about skill set or technical and cognitive, capabilities. It's all of the other things as well that we don't see, and we just think, you know what, Mikey Moore, he's got a play, mate. He's just so brilliant. I've just seen him down the park the other day. He's brilliant. You know what I mean? He's top notch. Yeah, but it's not just about if he can control the ball with the first touch. It's all the rest of it as well. It's the social, it's the psychological, it's the performance. It's his well-being, it's his lifestyle, it's everything. And I think Ange, I saw something about Ange saying that he would love to throw like these guys head first into playing football. But it's not as simple as everyone wants to make out, because you've got so many factors to take into consideration. And perhaps, I mean, I don't know if Justin or Phillip or yourself Harry know. Callum, if you're a bit more embedded into the Spurs, like youth, whatever, you may know. But the reason why, perhaps, and I'm just throwing it out there, perhaps players don't want to stay with us, although they've got great training facilities, they've got great coaches, etc., etc. I think it's because, in my opinion, it's a lack of identity, because we don't have like an identity, we don't have a philosophy, right? And that's just an opinion, right? But if you're chopping and changing, right, first team managers, right, on what course are you going on? What have you got to look forward to? Do you know what I mean? You're playing like under 17s, under 18s, right? Just your Premier League 2, as Justin said before. I think that's what it's called now. And you're thinking, yeah, because you know what? I want to strive to go and play with Ion. What you mean? He just got kicked out last week, like 6 days before an FA Cup final. Oh, he's not staying because he's a win now manager. Oh, but now it's different because you've got Ange, and Ange, for all his faults and all his benefits and that, I think he knows how to go about his business. And if he says, I want 17-year-olds because that's the way forward, then the club has got to back that. And if he says, I want 3 17-year-olds and, I don't know, 8 29-year-olds, because he's convinced about that. And then that's the way forward. He's setting the foundations for the future of the club, even though he's 58, 59, and he's not going to be here in 5 years, or he might be, but contract says he won't be. At least he's setting the foundations, and that gives something to your Lancashires, your Donnellys, your et cetera, to say, you know what, I'm looking up to that, and the ones that I don't know about because they're much younger. But if you've got something that is up in the air every year, right? It's kind of, what am I going to stay here for? I'm just going to go down to Ipswich. I'm going to go down to Blackburn. I'm going to go down to Plymouth. Like, we've got a couple down there, and at least I can strive for playing in, I don't know, League One or Championship, whatever it is, and I can get my football in, week out, without faffing about up at Spurs. Because at the end of the day, a player wants to play. They don't want to be doing anything else. And that's my take on it. But the leap is very big, and it's not just,
Okay, yeah, no, thank you very much. Before we touch on England, before we kind of wrap up for today, Justin, I'll come to you first. And I do want to touch on it briefly, but Bentancur took to all socials to apologise after there's a video deemed of him making a joke by Son, about Son and his cousin, saying that they look alike, etc. So what did you kind of make of it? Because it was deemed by a lot of people as racist. Bentancur's apologised, looks like Son's accepted that. Where do you kind of stand on the situation?
I think it was very naive and completely ignorant and stupid of him to think that was not only A, acceptable, but B, that it wasn't going to get back to anywhere else. Because I believe it was said on a Uruguayan TV channel or an Argentinian TV channel. And we live in a world where it doesn't matter where you say anything, it can get back. We've got social media where these platforms can literally pick out anything and everything you say. And I just can't understand where the logic is with it, because, as we're seeing now, the Premier League, I think it's the FA actually are looking into it and determining, what action they may want to take. And it is just stupid because, I cannot understand. I've heard people turn around and say, oh, it's a cultural thing. It's this, that, and other. Well, I'm sorry, but we had a similar situation with Luis Suarez, many, many years ago when he had these sort of issues. When you're coming over here to play football, these are things that need to be deemed to be acceptable. Okay. To me, I sort of look at it and I feel that, from that perspective, you have to accept that you might think it's acceptable, it's just not here. It absolutely isn't. So I hope the club, take, serious action, whether it be a fine or, getting him out there. Because the other thing as well is all going to make it awkward even more is we go on tour to South Korea.
Pre-season.
So Bentancur is going to be there. Unless Uruguay go long into the competition. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that Bentancur hasn't gone on that tour because he's recovering from an injury, which, to be honest, that's the way you solve that problem. But there has to be something that comes out. He has to come to the forefront, and the club have to make it very clear that this is, I know they've said it isn't acceptable, but there has been, there's been some sort of punishment or things like that, whether it be a week or 2 weeks wages that then gets donated to a charity or however it may be. But to me, I just feel that there is just something that still needs to be addressed within the nature of this game, where people think, it's still sort of going on and what have you. So he's just jealous he's not on, bless him.
What a knob. What a knob.
For people who can't see what it says listen after, I assume Marlon on Spurs Kings TV has just put Justin 3 minutes and 40 seconds after the question asked, still talking. Well,
jealous.
Yeah, he's jealous he didn't get the invite and you did. There we go, mate. Maybe it's that. But thank you very much, Marlon, for tuning in. But no, yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, to say that we kind of did touch on it. I think it's a brainless thought from Bentancur. I think saying that off camera is bad enough, but it's this kind of thing that surely you just think. I just think that I thought he was more intelligent than that. I don't think he meant it, but you've got to be careful how you come across. I just think that it's very poor, and we know that someone gets a lot of ultimate racism and abuse as it is. So we want to see players protecting our own captains. So it's the last thing you expect him to come out with. You just got to think before you say. He puts himself in the spotlight. Go on, Chris.
Sorry, I do apologise for interrupting, but
No,
it is it is in line with the off the cuff kind of comment that Bentancur said, and I'm not sure if anyone is aware of what went down in the last. I think it was Barcelona, like the Clásico against between Barcelona and I'm not sure whether it made the rounds in England or around the world, but here in Spain, obviously, it does make the rounds and very rightly so. Mono Burgos, who was Argentina goalkeeper for Atletico Madrid as well, and so, and he was a commentator now on Spanish TV. Well, he's not anymore, because he said, talking about Lamine Yamal, he said that he's a great, he's a very, very good technical player, and if he doesn't make it in the world of football, he'd be a great street juggler or a street entertainer, and that cost him his job. So and I think that touching a bit on what Justin said about the cultural thing, I'm not condoning it whatsoever, but I think the South American and especially the southern, the Spanish in the South, they have a way of wording things that can be quite insulting, but it's not anything that they mean, right? And I'm definitely not justifying anything. I'm just trying to explain that up here in the north, for example, people are not like that. They've got a different sense of humor, they've got a different character than in the south, and the south is more like South America, that they will say anything to your face, but it will not be, do you know what I mean? It will not be intentionally like insulting you. It will be humoristic, and I think those two incidents are extremely unfortunate, but I can understand their point of view because it's just humor. But to the rest of the world is extremely out of order. So, I don't know. It's just a bit of information from what I can offer from being in Spain and from that point of view. But I think it wasn't. I think it was a bit out of order, and those kind of things, even in jest, should be a bit more polished. Especially from your teammate. So that's my take, and thank you for the time.
No problem at all. And before we wrap up, I wanted to finish off with England. So, Jack, I want to kick it off with you, I think. So, England, Slovenia tomorrow. From an England point of view, can England win the Euros?
I mean, can they? I mean, it's actually possible because they haven't been eliminated. Will they? The answer is no. I don't get too wrapped up in England. Of course, I'm not English. I have a daughter who lives there, but she couldn't care about football. So, I mean, it is unbelievable to me the level of talent that the roster has and the inability to play in an organized system that actually gets the most out of your players. I think you guys have a lot more to say on whether Saka should start or not, but I think the overall system. Gareth is just so trapped in his thinking, and he doesn't seem to learn very quickly. And we have a similar situation here in the United States. We have a coach that most fans don't have any confidence in because we see this is probably the best class of players that the U.S. has ever produced. Every single one of our starting lineup is playing in top 4 leagues across Europe, and the consistency is abysmal. They can get shelled by Colombia 5-1 and then tie Brazil 1-1, and it's just up and down and up and down. I feel the same thing about England. It's like we have the same manager. And the FA seems to have the only criteria, from my American perspective, the criteria has for the England manager is he's an English guy. And I'm just not seeing any hope of this team coming together. And I hope I'm wrong. If I'm rooting for anyone, it's absolutely going to be England. And watching the games, and it's great to wake up and have games at 9, 12, and 3 here in the States, and then Copa America that night. It's a wonderful time, but I'm not convinced by England at all, and I don't know any one of my English friends who really feels confident either.
I don't think anyone in England is convinced by Southgate, and they haven't been for the last 2 tournaments. So I echo what Jack's saying, and to be honest, it's quite a dramatic thing when you think how good our players are at club level, but they've got a manager who can't get his head out of his backside and try something that actually works proven, and how he decides to play people out of position, how he tries to do something weird and wonderful, and yet he's meant to be a defender by his club career.
Well,
And
I'll tell you what, Callum, what would you change then against Slovenia? Let's solely focus on Slovenia tomorrow. Well, at the time of recording, it's Tuesday night. Well, we're recording Monday night, but it's on Tuesday night, the game. What would you change? If that's your lineup, your formation, what would you do?
Do I get a choice of taking Southgate out to start off with? Because that would make me so happy. No, there's definitely got to be taking out Trippier needs to go. He's not a left back. Completely wrong decision. Take out Trent as well. Drop Foden. I hate to say it, being a Spurs fan, but I actually would have dropped Kane and all that after how bad he's been in the last 2 games as well. You can see he's injured. That's why he missed the end of the Bundesliga season. It's a false sense of reality to expect him to be able to press from the front, because you could see how deep he was dropping. So I'd probably go Konsa or Gomez at left back. Got to be Gahey, Stones, Walker at right back, Pickford at the back with, I'd probably go Rice and Walton or Rice and Bellingham in the middle, and then go Saka, Ollie Watkins, Foden and Kane up top. I think that's got to have something different to what we've offered in the last 2 games, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, for me, lineup, I think it's Slovenia, right? We want to top the group, want to go through quite comfortably. There's no need to play 2 holding midfielders. We come up against France, Germany, Spain, we later want to progress into the tournament, even Netherlands. Then, by all means, go with Walton and Rice. And that's sensible because we're lacking protection. But Slovenia, I'd go for it. So my team, the back 5, including the goalkeeper, would stay the same. I don't know why Luke Shaw's bought. Southgate's confirmed since we've been on air that he's unavailable for Slovenia games. So you're bringing someone that's hardly going to feature at all, if at all, in the tournament. It just doesn't make sense to me when you've got other left-sided defenders. You've got Tyrant Mitchell, for example, with Palace, who I would have had over Luke Shaw anyway, sitting at home. Not fantastic, but better than Luke Shaw. So I'll keep the back line the same. Midfield, I'd keep Rice as the 6. I'd put Kobbie Mainoo in there. And have Jude Bellingham. Then we move on to the front 3. Anthony Gordon has to be on that left-hand side for me. And Saka and Kane. So Saka on the right, Kane in the middle. They're both probably lucky to be in that team. And I look at Cole Palmer and go, you combine his goals and assists last season, it's about 33, 34. And he's not even getting a minute for England. Anthony Gordon as well, you could say to a similar extent, not in terms of the numbers, but performance-wise, an impact he's having on club. But there we go. Justin, what would you do? Slovenia, what will your lineup look like? Something's got to change, isn't it?
I think probably very similar to what was said before. The only difference is I feel that we need to make a decision on the number 10 role. Because clearly when you look at how Foden plays, he either plays on the right for City or he plays in the number 10. And seems to do there, because the problem that we're having at the moment is if you leave him on the left, he seems to drift in, and then Trippier is left on his own. And doesn't come forward, so we know full well that any defence is going to look at it and go, we'll just protect the right because we've got nothing coming down the left. So for me, I feel that, we need to be looking at bringing on, for me, I think Anthony Gordon, and also looking at Eze and Cole Palmer. Sorry, was that, should I carry on? Because that was less than 3 minutes. Sorry.
Have you got more to say or not?
Well, I have, but I don't want to keep talking. The question's been asked. I've answered it.
Thank you very much. Oh no, I love it, Justin, because if there's been a time I don't be doing an extra bit of revision or be doing something completely different in my own time, I know that I look at it, I think got Justin on the panel, 2 or 3 points, and that'll cover an hour and a half. So no, Justin, I think that's a good quality to have. And as a host, I think lots of hosts will. You go to Ricky Sachs, Holly Agrambar, I think they can absolutely, Marlon can absolutely echo that. So thank you very much on that behalf. Philip, where do you stand with England, and how interested are you in the Euros this summer?
Well, I was in the stadium on Thursday for the game, and quite a few people actually kind of mentioned in the first half. It's like it was basically like watching Spurs under Conte. From the way that we were sitting so deep, and we couldn't play the ball out. We kept losing the ball, had no pace. And look, I mean, it's basically echoing everyone else, right, really. But I just think the Southgate's got a complete lack of balance in the team. The team doesn't look coached. It doesn't look like they know where they're supposed to be kind of moving on the pitch. The left side is awful. I mean, Kieran Trippier, why don't we have any other kind of left-sided player in there? I think it's a disgrace, actually, that he's been kept playing there on that side. Trent, why experiment in the Euros? It hasn't worked. Kane he looks injured. He looks slow. I wouldn't drop him, to be honest. I think he's the kind of player that actually needs maybe some games, to kind of get back in. And that if he gets a chance, he's going to score it. And he's the captain, so I'd keep him in there. I'd play Gordon on the left with his power, kind of pace, just to get down the line, right? I don't think Foden deserves to. Well, Foden probably does deserve to be dropped in some ways, but again, he's playing out of position. Play him in the middle, number 10. I'd give Saka 45 minutes. And if he doesn't do anything noteworthy or cause problems in the first half against Slovenia, I'd hook him. And probably I'd bring Palmer on, I think. Palmer hasn't played a minute yet, which I think is also shocking. Even that he hasn't come on for 15 minutes here or there or somewhere like that. And Bellingham I'd bring back into central midfield. I'd bring him back alongside Rice.
He's an 8. He's not a 10, is he? He's an 8. He's not a 10.
Exactly.
He's not a 10. And in that first game against Serbia, he had that kind of Beckham-esque half an hour, right, or 45 minutes where he was the only player calling for the ball and then kind of running with it, right? But he was doing that from deep as well. Push him back into number 8. I mean, again, I don't think there's any real magic solutions apart from to try, though, and give that team a bit more balance and a bit more structure. And, in the stadium as well on Thursday, there was a lot of other people there, including a lot of the Danish fans. And the Danish team, by the way, is a much more organized and effective team than the English team. Right? You could see it, right? How they set up on the pitch, how they play with the ball. They're more efficient, they're more effective, and they're better coached, if I'm being honest right now. But a lot of their fans were even saying, look at Rangnick. Look at what he's done with Austria. He's got that Austrian team playing really nice football, really balanced. They've got a limited assortment of riches, right? Probably only one player, I think, out of their team would get into our team. But he's got them playing well, and Southgate hasn't. So, it just seems, again, like the same old England a bit, and a bit of a hodgepodge of players bundled together who don't really seem to kind of know what the plan is up to a certain extent, but also to be honest, I mean, they also don't look like they're 100% motivated up to a certain extent as well. I don't know. Maybe that's just because they're frustrated as well, but it doesn't look like they're burning to try and make things happen on the pitch. So, Southgate needs to change it, and he needs to change it big time. And if he doesn't, then he's anyways a marked man. And like he's under a bit of pressure now because like he's got all that criticism. The players are being criticised from Lineker and all Shearer and all those people, right? And you can have your opinion on that as well, right? Both ways, whether that
I certainly do.
But at the moment we're not going to win the Euros, and we'll likely go out right to the first half decent team that we play, right? Just because we can't do it. The only thing, my final point on it again though, is that we really haven't got going at all. And, it is a tournament, right? You can play your way into a tournament. You can suddenly, I don't know, like find some balance. You can have a good game. You can get confidence. Maybe you'll try something else. As long as you're still in the tournament, you've got time to make that happen. I just think it really is a bit of a shame that these first 2 games have just been really, really drab. Like really, really drab. The atmosphere was good on Thursday, to be honest. Like the fans were good. There was some good partying and stuff afterwards as well. I think most England fans behaved themselves as well, which was really good. But like there's a lot that needs to happen, and I just hope that Southgate really has I say not the balls to do it, because he's obviously played.
No, I think it would be that. Having the decency to go, look, I'm wrong. I should have experimented in a major tournament. Look, I've been here 8 years, and I don't know my best team. I've been here 8 years, and I bought players that I should have, and I've been here 8 years. It's taken me this long to drop favourites. I think that people go, oh yeah, it's done well to get so far. But look at some of the players. I think without a manager, you're going to have a shot at winning the Euros. You wouldn't need anyone in charge, any direction.
Exactly. He's put Trent in there, so he's shown that he's not scared to actually experiment, right, or to try something like that. But now he needs to also put his hand up and admit that he was wrong, and that he's got a plan to do it. I mean, the likelihood he's going to be gone after the Euros anyway, isn't it? I mean, he's not going to stay on as England manager, right?
Well, his contract's up, isn't it? His contract's up. His contract's actually up. So
he's gone anyway. So this is his.
If you look after the Denmark game, Kane's going, this is not the way I want to play. It's not the way the team want to play. Then Southgate's going, this is not what I'm telling them. So which one is it? Is it the players aren't listening? Is it the manager's lying? I think that the Southgate's got a lot to answer for. And Bellingham, I was watching the game. Bellingham's a lot higher than Kane most of the time. They get each other's way. That's why neither of them are effective. That's why I don't get the slander from the likes of, I don't know, the Chris Beater, Gary Lineker. I don't know why he goes on and on and on. I think that it's got to be a bit jealousy that Kane's still doing it, and that, I don't know, Lineker wishes that he could still do it. I don't know, or realises that Kane's better. But either way, it's like the single out Kane. It's Kane, 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 Kane. I'm like, where's your stick to Bellingham, to Saka, to Foden, who've disappeared in 2 games? At least Kane's got a goal, and as Callum touched on, he's actually technically half injured. That they won't bear that in mind, but I don't want to really get into that. But before we do finish, one last thing. I want score predictions for everyone for the Slovenia game. Chris, how are you feeling? What would be your score prediction?
I'm feeling great. Thanks for the question. But regarding the England match, I don't know. I think that something's going to have to happen.
Sorry, I meant how are you feeling ahead of the game? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I thought you're just being polite. I think that.
Let's go with that.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's right.
I don't know. I a lot of things have got to change. I don't know. I'm going to go 2-1 to England just because I want us to win. But I think that with all due respect, lesser with teams that are countries with lesser names, like Slovenia, like what Phillip said, like just now, Denmark were the more efficient team because they just probably did things in a more simpler way because the ideas were there and they just did what they had to do and that was it, basically, right? We don't seem to be doing that. And that is a big problem when you have to get results in such a short competition, because if not, you're out. And I just think that Slovenia could cause us a few problems. albeit being a country with a lesser history in football, so to speak, to put it nicely. But I'm just going to say 2-1, just for the sake of having to win, because Serbia's got 1 point, Denmark and Slovenia have got 2 points. We've got 4. We have to win, right? So, we can go through with a draw, but we're dependent on Denmark, Serbia. So, I'd rather win and be comfortable than not.
Are you suggesting that there's a chance we might not go through?
Well, listen, if Denmark win and Slovenia win, we're still stuck on 4 points and they're on 5. So we are third in the group. And that is statistically true.
Yeah, but I think that, 4 out of 6
You would go through.
teams that are third go through.
You would go through, but that's fine. But you're still third in the group with Slovenia and Denmark.
I know. As long as you go through. I don't know.
Then there you go. Party, as long as we go through that. No, I don't think anybody would be happy going through third. Would you? Would anybody?
Nope.
Well, there you go.
Wouldn't be happy, but wouldn't be. This is a disgrace. Yeah, we're through, and I think that all teams that win tournaments, either you do really, really well, or you do ride your luck along the way. Really, you look at Champions League finals.
Maybe that's what we deserve. That's what we deserve.
I agree, but we rode a lot like Spurs and Man City with that. In terms of, I don't think it's handball, but you have questionable decisions like that, and we really like the disallowed goal right at the very end, or you go Ajax where you score the final seconds. Just crazy stuff like that. You ride your luck to the very end, but that's what I think.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Yeah, Justin, what would be your score prediction?
Well, I think we need to be very I think we need to step up now. We've had some 2 awful results. And this now needs to time where we can actually show that we're serious about winning this tournament. We should be going out there and absolutely destroying them. I don't think we will. I think we'll just see what we've seen for the 2 previous games, and we'll be lucky to scrape through. I think Chris is probably right. I'd say probably 2-1. Oh, and that was about 20 seconds, that answer, if Marlon's still on.
Well done. Thank you very much. It's a big achievement. Let's go down to 15. No, thank you very much. Callum, score predictions.
I'm going to probably go with what Chris and Jay said, probably about 2-1. I think it will go down bad on our Eurovision rating though next year. Slovenia will probably vote against us in that competition like everyone else in Europe always does. But
we don't win it anyway. We don't win it anyway. The last 30 all the way, so
well, it's crap. It's just like every other team in the Euros. We're making them look good when they're minnows, and we should be dominating. So if we don't get a result tomorrow, and if we come third, we go into that poxy playoff round, don't we, or something like that as well. So either way, we need to do well, because I think based on the statistics, if we even come second, we get Germany now. So
yeah, we do. Yeah.
So we've got no chance. And Phil, there was a point you made earlier about the players in the stadium. Did they look unfit to you? Because there's been all of these reports and rumours that half the squad aren't fit. They don't look like they're fit enough to press for the ball. And Southgate's chatting out of his backside, I think, especially with that Calvin Phillips comment as well. But they just don't look interested or fit or want to do it.
There was a statistic someone did, right? I can't remember in which paper or press, where they analysed all of the teams at the Euros and how many minutes they've played, the individual players, and also in which league they are. And England were nowhere near the top, right, in terms of that. And then they compared it to how many presses per game, how much they're actually like pressing players. And we weren't right at the bottom, but we were way down the bottom in terms of pressing. So I think it's claptrap what Southgate is saying there. Looking at the players live in the stadium, I would say, they look slow. I wouldn't say they look unfit per se, right? Kane, I think, looks a bit sluggish. Yeah, I think he looks a bit sluggish. But the other players, they just look, when they get the ball, right? When they receive the ball, they don't seem to react quickly, right? To get the ball under control, move, and there's not someone running, right? There's not someone going into space. it just looks like they're really, really passive. And I don't think that's because they're unfit. I think it's just because, to be honest, I think they're not motivated 100%.
Do you think we'll win though, Phillip? You think we're going to win?
Again?
Do you think we're going to win?
I think we are, but only because Slovenia probably without Sesko, I think, as it looks like. I think they're pretty harmless. So I think we're going to win 2-0. I still think we're going to win. And if we lose it and we finish third, then, I mean, to be honest, like, you might as well just fire Southgate straight away. We wouldn't, but like, you might as well, right? Because you could still.
No, I agree. I think that kind of wraps us up nicely, though. So thank you very much to everyone. If you're listening on any podcast platform, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. Listen on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Chris, where can people find you?
Met Football TV. I'll be around. I'll be here, there, and everywhere.
Go follow Chris. Thank you very much, Chris. Justin, thank you very much.
Thank you. As I said, here or Twitter, you know, pretty much, as I said, the same here, there, and everywhere. So thank you very much for having us.
No, thank you. Callum, where can people find you?
Park Lane Podcast, as always, mate. As always.
Lovely. Go check it out. Thank you very much, Callum. And Phillip, where can people find you?
Yeah, mainly on Twitter at Frankfurt Spurs. And yeah, thanks for having me on again.
No, thank you. So go follow all the guys. And come on Spurs, come on England. Have a fantastic evening.
Working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. Ange Postecoglou, you know that we believe it.